Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion, located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street, in the heart of Kensington Market. Or visit toms-place.com. And by Pete's Pizza, celebrating 40 years serving the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls area. Pete's Pizza. Life is not about finding yourself, it's about finding pizza. If you're hungry, visit petespizzaniagara.ca. Celebrating 5 years. This is Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
How many pounds of skin will humans shed in their lifetime?
The best remedy after being stung by a jellyfish is what? Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And for 5 years, we've scoured the internet to find totally useless information just for you.
We will look back at 5 years of totally useless information with Nick and Roy.
So what you're saying is we're going to go back to the first episode 5 years ago?
Right. And then we're just going to play them one after another. So you might want to pull up a chair and bring lunch.
I thought we're doing some new stuff.
We are new. Okay. We're doing new. See, this is just as smooth as the very first one. We're doing new and looking back. 5 years ago, we decided let's do a podcast. And then we eventually became, popular enough where they put us on the radio in Canada, all over North America.
Popular enough. Nick, we're in 75 countries around the world. Who would have thought this?
Nobody would have thought it. We thank all of you, actually, because without you, we wouldn't be here. We'd be doing something else. We'd be playing in traffic or something. But we do thank you very much for joining us week after week for 5 years.
Nick would be playing alone.
Now, I calculated we put out over, speaking of putting out, we put out over 4,800 facts, useless facts. Now, There's a little bit more than that, but sometimes you and I repeated some of the facts. Plus, we had some special guests over the 5 years. We did special holiday shows like Thanksgiving and Halloween and all kinds of great stuff we did over the past 5 years. So for the next few episodes, you'll hear brand new stuff, of course, but we'll also look back at some of the most hilarious segments of totally useless information, including one of our really popular topics, science.
Einstein was a moron. Newton was a jerk. E equals nothing. It's science, science, science.
Still the most popular jingle. And
science.
Tell me how, now you came up with that jingle because you and I were talking about what topics we're going to do. We said, okay, let's decide on science. And then you said, let me do a jingle. And then how did you come up with that?
So I got in front of the keyboard. I started going, that, I started doing that. And then I came up with Einstein was a moron. Newton was a jerk. E equals nothing. It's science. And then I was like, it's science. I wanted it to be longer. So I was like, it's science, science, science.
Well, that's pretty cool. So thank you for doing that. And throughout the shows, you've heard jingles that Roy produced and performed. And some we did together. Like the sex one was my wife. Me and my wife were in your
Nick,
kitchen.
it doesn't sound great. Me, you, and your wife did it. And she's been knocking on my door ever since.
That's right. Knocking on heaven's door. So they great lyric, don't you think? So so then also the voice lady, which you'll hear, would do some intros, the beginning and everything, and she does a great job. So as a team here, we really put it all together. Okay, let's get into science. So remember as a kid, you used to say to somebody, "Oh, you got the cooties. Don't give me the cooties."
Yes.
Okay. So there actually was a thing. Okay. Cooties are actually a thing. It's not just a thing. Yeah. Once you realize that cooties have their roots in World War I, they became a lot less fun. Okay. Because as kids, it's a lot of fun. But soldiers suffered terribly in the trenches. In addition to the mental anguish, the weather conditions and injuries, they also had to endure body lice, aka cooties. Now, the lice could cover the soldier's body in nasty bites. I hope you've all have had your breakfast, but they're also a vehicle for spreading diseases like typhus. Now, thousands of men unfortunately succumbed to this disease during the war. Now, you're thinking, well, how did it get the word cooties? It's a Malaysian word from kutu, which is a parasitic biting insect. And that's how you get cooties.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know cooties were real.
Yeah, now you know.
And
Listen,
you got it. Nick,
listen, laugh, and learn. We told you for
Yeah.
5 years, listen, laugh, and learn, including the
I'm glad
host.
we're on Zoom because you have
Yes.
cooties.
That's right.
It is documented that giraffes are 30 times, get this, 30 times more likely to get struck by lightning.
Oh.
They've documented 5 fatal strikes on giraffes between 1996 and 2010. There are 140,000 giraffes on the planet. So that's 0.003. Nick and I did the math.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning strikes, lightning deaths for giraffes. So that means that they are 30 times more likely to get hit than humans, which kind of makes sense because they're so much further up there. It's much easier to get.
I was going to say, it's quite a stretch.
Plus, they're under trees all the time, the idiots.
Yeah. Well, they tell you never to go under a tree when there's lightning. Don't they know?
No, gosh, they're not listening, Nick.
Boy, just when you stick your neck out for somebody. So some science projects have nicknames. So one of them is Project.
Nick? They have nicknames?
They have nicknames like I have a nickname. My name is Nick. Although I've been called many other things, but we won't get into that till episode 5.
We'll work on that in this episode.
We sure will. Project 8. It's designed to measure the minuscule. Now, pay attention, okay? It's designed to measure the minuscule mass of neutrinos by detecting radiation from electrons ejected from the neutrinos in radioactive decay. Did you get all that?
That's Project 8?
Yes. Now, the director.
I like that much better, Project 8.
Okay. Yeah. So now the director, Project 8, was asked after he finished the talk about what this really all means and where the name of the experiment came from. And he said he made it up just out of thin air. He was tired of names of experiments composed mostly of silly acronyms. So he said, the heck with it. I'm just going to come with Project 8 just on a whim. And that was Project 8, which once again, in case you're wondering, in case you've forgotten, actually, it's designed to measure the minuscule mass of neutrinos by detecting radiation from electrons ejected. Are you paying attention?
You know what the funniest part of this whole thing is, Nick?
What
that
is?
People that listen to this show, if you've been listening for 5 years, you're smart enough to understand what we just said.
Exactly. And then you can send an email to nickandroy.com and you can explain it to us.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
Nick, the brain is constantly eating itself. It's called phagocytosis.
Okay.
And I've actually taught this in biology classes. Phagocytosis is the process where cells consume smaller cells. The bigger cells eat up the dying smaller cells and then remove them from the body system, which helps, in the case of the brain, it helps preserve the gray matter area of the brain, the liquid that the brain sits in, and which is very good for the brain.
Right.
Poor Nick, though, his brain completely ate itself. And so this is what we have left.
And you know what? And I'm hungry a half hour later. Go figure.
And I don't know if you've ever been called a phagocytosis before. But
I was, but I had a cigarette in my mouth. Where do symbols from the periodic table come from? So we're all familiar with the periodic table because I look at it periodically. And you're wondering where all the symbols came from because, for example, AU is gold and Na is sodium. NaCl, of course, is sodium chloride, which is salt. So many of the symbols are taken from the Latin name of the element. So like we said, sodium is Na, which is taken from its Latin name, natrium or natrium. Gold, Au, comes from Au.
Hey, you, give me your gold or I'll kill you.
It sounds like how we used to talk in the Bronx. Hey, you.
Yeah. Hey, you, Midas, give me your gold.
Gold, and it gets its name from the Latin word for gold, which is aurum. And other elements have symbols that come from the names in languages other than Latin or English as well. So that's what makes up all of the periodic table.
People are learning stuff today, boy.
Yep.
Let's get to one of my favorite subjects, the largest piece of fossilized poo or crap.
Yes.
It was discovered. It was dinosaur poo. In fact, it was T-Rex poo after they did a little DNA on it. It was T-Rex poo. It was 30 centimeters long. Now, I'm in the United States, but you'd know what that is, Nick, 30 centimeters.
Yes.
It was 30 centimeters long and 2 liters in volume. They found another one next to it, which was 29 centimeters long and 1.9 liters in volume. When they did the DNA analysis, they found that one was Nick's.
Right. No crap.
The fact before the Nick one was actually true.
Right. By the way, in case you're wondering, it's 11.8 inches. The next science fact is moronic acid. And this is so totally Roy. Moronic acid.
You're a moronic
acid. It's naming a chemical from its source as a common way of distinguishing compounds. So what else would you call an acid derived from a tree called mora, except moronic acid?
Is that where they get it? I'm using it. I'm using it on a garage floor, moronic acid. You use it in pools and stuff too.
Well, studies have found that it may be a powerful agent against HIV and herpes as well. So what the hell?
You drink it. You don't have to worry about getting it.
I was going to say, what the heck are you doing on your garage floor that you need to treat it with moronic acid? You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We are 5 years now, celebrating 5 years of
total. Do you have another fact, Nick?
Do I?
I think
so. Did I lose track already?
Yeah, you said 4.
That's right.
So I got one more.
You got one more. Okay.
3.
See, this is hold on. Don't give me a 3, 2, 1. This is like we try to make the show as organic as possible. Like there's very little editing. Like we spend more time in researching the stuff and recording the show than editing the show. And in some cases you really notice it right away.
Yeah, I know. We're so professional after 5 years.
That's right. We'll get it right.
People don't understand though. We do this show live with each other on a Zoom format, because I'm in Florida and of course Nick is in Toronto, Canada.
Right.
But we do this show. Most people that listen or guests on our show don't understand. If they are guests on the show, they begin to understand that we do it in one shot. They're like, wow, I can't believe you guys can actually do that. And we try to explain, we have one mind. It's literally half of a normal mind in each of our heads.
And that's where we derive moronic acid.
Nick and Roy will continue with Totally Useless Information.
You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, and we're absolutely thrilled and stoked to have a brand new partner on our show. It's Pete's Pizza from the Niagara region.
Oh, boy. Let me tell you, listeners of this show know that I was in the restaurant business for a lot of years. Pete's Pizza knows the only way to make perfect pizza is by using the freshest ingredients. Every day, they roll their own dough to create the signature pizzas topped with only the freshest ingredients. It's amazing.
Since 1984, so now they're celebrating their 40th anniversary because I can do math. The 6 Niagara locations have been known as the small pizzerias that are big on taste and easy on the budget as well. With locations across St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, you're just minutes away from some of the best pizza and wings in town. They're always open late. Find a Pete's Pizza near you.
And you can go on their website at pete'spizzaniagara.ca. That's Pete's Pizza Niagara.ca. And Pete's Pizza is not just about pizza. They have wings. They have subs. They have a menu that is, you're going to try everything on this menu because it's that good.
As Roy said, he's been in the restaurant business a long time. Pete's Pizza is family owned and operated. They began as one location off Pleasant Avenue, St. Catharines, and now 40 years later, it's still there and other locations in St. Catharines and Niagara Falls to serve you. They also give back to the community. You'll find them in church parking lots and all kinds of events and fundraisers and then school lunch programs. So they truly give back to the community. So thanks to Pete's Pizza. Check them out, pete'spizzaniagara.ca. That's pete'spizzaniagara.ca. Life is not about finding yourself. It's about finding pizza.
We're back with Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Hey, Nick and Roy, film critic Richard Krause here. Congratulations on 5 years of useless information. 5 years, that's 2.7 million minutes, or about 10,000 times as long as Gone with the Wind, which clocks in at about 3 hours and 58 minutes, or 0.000431 years. 5 years, that's 75 million times as long as the first movie, 1888's Roundhay Garden Scene, which was only 2 seconds long, or 0.0000006690 years. Here's to another 2.7 million minutes.
Okay, ready? Here's my last one for science.
Yes.
It is believed that you're going to love this one, Nick. This is the get a pen one to write down.
Okay.
It is believed that salamanders and lizards' brain process information very slowly. Now, of course, salamanders and lizards pretty much walk pretty slow, you know?
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay, so their brain is working that slowly. It's sending the signals that slowly. But scientists believe, and they've done testing, that they also experience time slower because their brain processes it at a slower pace. Okay, so they literally, they witness time moving slower because of their brain speed. Now, I've noticed this behavior before and doing the show with Nick.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's a good thing your name isn't Sal. Salamander.
Salamander, yes, exactly. So we'll remind the audience again, you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We're 5 years into our show, and thank you again for supporting us. Now, throughout the course of the episode and subsequent episodes, we're going to look back at some of the highlights. So this one was early on, maybe season 2. We talked about inventions. That's one of the 18 topics that we do. It's inventions. And this is an invention invented by Buck Weimer for a U.S. underwear manufacturer, My Shreddies. And their claim was to neutralize the smell of flatulence. The filter, okay, to filter the flatulence's effects, the underwear's airtight fabric is sealed with elastic around the waistband and legs. Now, how does it work? Well, Shreddies flatulence filtering garments feature an activated carbon back panel and absorbs all of the flatulence odors. Due to its highly porous nature, the odors become trapped and neutralized by the cloth, which is then reactivated by simply washing the garment. Okay? Mm-hmm. If you want to buy a pair, or perhaps a pair for your significant stinky other, if you're wondering if this works, there's some testimonials. Thank you for creating a product. Thank you for creating a product that changed my life. I can now work indoors. I can now work indoors without fear. And from this is anonymous, and I guess I can understand why. I wish to thank you. This product changed my life. It doesn't matter what I eat. The gas is so bad, and the smell has driven my husband from our room at night. So, like,
you were actually, I thought we were going to have to stop because I thought you were going to urinate in your own Shreddies.
You know what? No. These are My Shreddies. It's different than, it's not the breakfast cereal. No, by no means. Okay, let's do one more. Let's look back here's another one. So at the end of every show, we do news from around the world. And these are some zany, wacky headlines, and usually involves people from Florida because, well, there are a lot of wacky, zany people down there, notwithstanding Roy. So we did a story on news from around the world. This one is Tiddlywinks up her nose. Okay. This was a news story where we covered, which was the case of a woman who put a tiddlywink, you know, those little sort of like dime size little plastic things. She put it up her nose and it got stuck. And 40 some odd years later, she had it removed. For most of her life, hospital kitchen worker Mary McCarthy often had a pain on the right side of her nose. Last year, after an extremely painful COVID-19 test, because in my teaser I said the headline was COVID-19 actually saved her life, her nasal problems deteriorated. The reason became obvious when a surgeon at a Christchurch hospital extracted a yellow Tiddlywinks piece. 37 years after it was lodged in her upper nose as a child.
What?
The surgeon also removed calcified material that had grown around the tiddlywinks.
Surgeon worked he worked from the tiddly
and gave
in
her
the nose?
Yes, he grabbed a tiddlywink from her nose 37 years after she lodged it in there. Now, tiddlywinks is the game which was developed in England in the 1860s and it's played with small sets of small discs called winks.
Little tiddlies.
Yeah,
little tiddlies.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So McCarthy, who's now 45, was recovering, although still in pain and very nasal, was breathing through her right nostril for the first time in 8 months.
How big is a tiddlywinks piece?
Almost the size of a dime.
In her nose for 30-something years.
Yep.
She didn't realize there was a problem.
She remembered that while playing tiddlywinks as a kid when she was 8 years old. So 37, so that makes her 45.
Wow.
45 years old. Okay?
30. Oh, my God.
So as a kid, she and her siblings were playing, and then she would stick them up their nose and then blow them out of their nose. Mm-hmm. One time, she accidentally inhaled one of them instead of blowing it out, and she was too scared to tell her mother, so she didn't.
So she hid it there.
She hid it in her nose. She remembered being...
She said, nobody will know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows it was in her nose. See, that's what she knew.
Nobody knows it's up there.
That's right. But she remembered being terrified at the time because thinking, where did it go? And then she always had difficulty breathing, like I have difficulty talking, through her nose over the years, but never gave it much thought. But the problem took a turn for the worse.
Uh-oh.
The tiddlywink that caused McCarthy's pain and breathing difficulties started to get lodged. After a COVID-19 nasal swab test, she was in pain for days afterwards.
There it goes.
Then developing serious sinus problems. Her nose was leaking constantly and in a lot of pain. She went to several general practitioners, and they put the pain down as a chronic sinus condition.
I had a friend that had a problem like that, the leakiness as well, and the hiding of the tiddlywinks, but not in the nose. The tiddlywinks were hidden in another spot and were not found unless the person hadn't tried to smuggle that cocaine across the border. So cocaine saved the life of a friend of mine.
So luckily, the nurse at the hospital believed it was more than just sinus pain. And I'm ignoring that for a reason. They asked me, because it's a little uncomfortable as you're squirming in your seat, they asked me if I ever put anything up my nose, and I told them about the tiddlywink and sort of laughed it off. Well,
She knew it.
A CT scan revealed an object in her upper nose. And although it did not look like a tiddlywink, he removed it. And while she was awake, by the way, it was too big. And they had to get in there and really dig it out, literally. When she woke up from surgery, she said, "What was it?" And they said, and they were laughing. She was the laughing stock of the hospital. Imagine this poor lady, right? A tiddlywink, and it wasn't even, and it didn't even lose its color after so many years. There was calcification, like we said, and now,
this is disgusting.
And she
I don't
said,
even like when people put their finger in their nose. Nevertheless, a tiddlywink.
She said her nose had grown a little bit crooked, so she was looking forward.
Around the tiddlywink.
She was looking forward to a life of easier breathing and a straighter nose.
So she has the tiddlywink up her nose.
Right.
She goes to the doctor, surgeon. I would assume, was he a famous doctor? Was his name like Dr. Nostradamus?
Yeah, he predicted that he knew what it was. Okay, we'll look back at some more as we celebrate 5 years of totally useless information with Nick and Roy.
Hi, it's Tony Chapman, host of Chatter That Matters. And I want to tell you, as a branding expert, I love the name Totally Useless Information. As a podcast fan, I love what these two do every week. And I just want to say congratulations on making this magic happen for 5 years. And here's your next 5.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. To access the full library of episodes, visit nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com.
It's time to gear up for fall with cool fashions, cooler weather, and in a very cool Kensington market. Hi, this is Cool Nick and Cool Roy for Tom's Place, where the cool guys in Toronto shop. Check out the latest fall fashions that have just arrived.
Hey, It's Tom's Place. So even the new arrivals are on sale. Fall colors, new patterns, fresh designs, designer suits, including all the new arrivals that retail up to $600. Nick, as always, insanity. $179. They start at $179 only at Tom's Place.
Wait a minute, hold on. So these new arrivals, they put them on sale. So $600 is what? How much?
Starting at $179, you get $600 suits. And listen, you know his selection, you know the quality. Okay, folks, Tom's Place in Kensington Market, you have to go. It's amazing.
If you go into Tom's Place and you tell them that you heard Nick and Roy talk about Tom's Place on Totally Useless Information, you can get S. Cohen and other designer suits. He will take it from $650 down to $375, the designer suits. These are amazing. Pick up a couple of sports jackets as well while you're at it, so you can dress up for the office or down for the weekend, or a wool top coat for 50% off on their first floor. Plus, designer dress or casual pants, they're only $99. And Roy wears a lot of dresses. Oh, no, sorry, dress pants. That's what I saw.
I don't wear a lot of pants most of the time, but Tom has helped me out. I've been wearing pants since I've been to Tom's Place.
What's their website?
Visit Tom's at toms-place.com. That's TOMS-place.com. Trust me, folks, when I tell you this, men's clothes, Kensington Market in Toronto, Tom's Place, it is really amazing.
190 Baldwin Street in the heart of a Kensington Market, Tom's Place. Will suit you.
We're back with Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn. Throw away your totally useless GPS. It's time for geography. So get lost with Nick and Roy.
The shortest town names, and I think we did this before. There was a town in Sweden that was named O.
Oh.
Just the letter O.
Oh.
Like, oh, I missed it as you drove through it.
Oh.
That's the smallest but I found another.
You did.
This town, get ready. This town is called Y. It's a French town, and it is called Y, just the letter Y.
Right.
Okay, not because I was in France, but
Why?
We're going to talk about that too on a show. Nick and I were both in Europe this year, different times and different places, but it was really cool. But this French town is called Y.
Why?
Okay, it's a very small town. In fact, they recently had the whole town recarpeted. So it's a very, very small town. But really, and that's what I said. Why?
Oh.
Then I said to myself, why did I come to France in the first place? No, really, honestly, France is beautiful, guys. I joke around about France, but wow, I was in Cannes, and it is cool.
Yeah, wow.
Then they got an opener and let me out.
Yes.
I was in Cannes.
That's right, you were in Cannes. Why? The Sandwich Islands. Do you know what the Sandwich Islands are?
I'm hoping that they're on Rye. And the mutton is very lean, like lean.
Lean, yes. The Sandwich Islands is Captain James Cook's name for the Hawaiian Islands in 1778.
Oh.
He chose the name of his patron, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, and he named Hawaii because it's Hawaii, by the way, is the Polynesian name of the islands. Yeah. And they are considered to be the Sandwich Islands.
See, that's another one people are going to tell.
Right.
Yep. This is a good one, too. In Africa, 26 countries have reported that their lion population is now extinct.
Oh.
So Africa is having a problem. Now, there's only between 23,000 and 39,000 lions left in Africa remaining. That's the entire population, between 23,000 and 39. They would have better narrowed down the counting of it, but the people counting kept coming up missing. Soon, all lion counters will be extinct.
Right. So what was the animal that was extinct?
The lion.
Are you telling the truth? I'm going to tell you about the town of Hum.
Hum?
Hum. H-U-M. Right. The little town, which is 100 meters long, only 100 meters long, it's about 300 feet, is tucked away in a Croatian region. Stepping inside allows you to see the town's true history and travel back in time for 300 feet rather. The town of Hum, located in Croatia's northwest area, is the smallest town in the world.
What?
It's smaller than a football field, and the population as of 2021 is 52.
Do you know I was in Split, Croatia?
Oh, you were?
Yes, I was in Croatia.
And then you left.
Yeah, I split.
Right.
In the Pacific Ocean, there's a place called the Ring of Fire.
Oh.
No, it is not Nick after a bunch of hot tacos.
Wow.
Yeah.
You finish your fact, and I'll tell you about one of the things we did over the past 5 years of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy as we celebrate 5 years, and it has to do with Ring of Fire, the song. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, see, it's a good segue. I didn't even know that. So, it is a place in the Pacific Ocean where there's frequent volcanic eruptions and the tectonic plates shift constantly, creating turmoil, heat, volcanoes going off under the ocean. And it is a very volatile area in the Pacific Ocean called the Ring of Fire.
Okay. Johnny Cash had that famous song, Ring of Fire. This particular company approached the Johnny Cash estate and said, we would like to use your song in our product, Ring of Fire. The family gathered and they said, absolutely not.
Oh, I remember this.
They did not. They did not. The family, the Johnny Cash estate, and the people responsible for that estate said absolutely not for using does that make grammatical sense? No, it doesn't. They said no to Ring of Fire, the product Preparation H.
I know.
They said no. What's that expression on the I think the US dollar bill? E pluribus unum or something?
E pluribus unum.
Unum. This is E pluribus ATM. In Vatican City, of course, the Italian is official language. Now, you visited Italy. Did you not visit Vatican?
I was there. I was literally at the gates of the Vatican. I went to step in, and the earth began to shake.
They did. Now, I don't know did you ever use an ATM there?
I did not. I've never used an ATM in my life.
Okay. Well, that's a whole other issue.
I don't even have a debit card.
That's money.
I'm off the grid. I'm off the grid, you know.
That's right. In fact, we don't even know. Roy's in an undisclosed location.
Even I don't know where I am.
That's right. Yeah, Roy didn't realize he was part of the witness protection program because nobody told him. I'm part of the witness protection program, but I didn't change my name to really throw them off. And so far it's working.
It's very good, Nick.
So E pluribus ATM. Italian is the official language of Vatican City and is the language used for all official matters. We know that. Italian is the la lingua franca. It's the Holy See uses this language. The rest of Italy uses language, but
it's the language of love, I have, you know.
Well, it uses Latin as its official language in the Vatican. Speaking of Romance languages, the Vatican is also to be the de facto custodian of the Latin language. Okay, they're responsible for all of it. So it will not be a surprise to anybody who goes to an ATM to find out that the Vatican Bank's ATM offers instructions in Italian and Latin.
Oh, because, yeah, why not,
you go.
Right?
So that's why I call this fact E pluribus ATM.
Yeah, you put your card in there and it's like,
and then when you put in your code, it says, Amen.
Boy, we're smart, Nick.
We are.
The Atacama Desert. Have you ever heard of the Atacama Desert? I
No.
have never heard of it.
No, so tell me, enlighten us.
Yeah, this is a new one for me. The Atacama Desert's in Chile. There are parts of the desert that have never, ever recorded not one drop of rain.
Really?
Yup. Not one drop of rain ever recorded. And I think they went back 20 some odd years. So in 20 years, they've never had a drop of rain. They're not even sure if there was ever a drop of rain in that particular part. just like Nick's jokes, it's a very dry desert.
Yes. But I'm quite vast in my intelligence, which, by the way, people I don't know if the people have approached you, well, in general, but people have approached you and asked, do you use AI in our show? And I tell them absolutely not. And we can guarantee this. In the 5 years and to this day, and we will always have this as a policy, we will never, ever use artificial intelligence. In fact, we won't use any intelligence at all, artificial or otherwise.
We've been getting along for 5 years not using any intelligence. Why in the hell would we do AI?
Exactly. So let's go back to the Vatican for a second. The Pope is protected by Swiss guards. There are 135 Swiss soldiers.
And a Swiss Army knife.
That's right. Well, that's what they use as weapons.
They get you with the fork, you know?
That's right. So they're known as the Pontifical Swiss Guard. I wonder if they eat Swiss cheese and they have Swiss Miss chocolate mix. I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been protecting the Pope since 1506. Pope
Boy,
Julius.
is he old.
Yes, he is. Well, they're holy guards. They were first hired in 1506 by Pope Julius II, who needed personal protection from any enemies of the church, because there are only one or two enemies of the church in the 1500s.
Yeah, exactly.
They're easily recognizable by their colorful striped uniforms. Not anyone can join the Swiss Guard, by the way. Okay, so I don't know if you were wondering, but one has to be male. Well, that covers both of us. Between 19 and 30 years old. Okay, we're out. But not only that, but you have to be 5 feet 10 inches tall.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Speaking of geography, you know, Nick and I love Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes.
And I was listening to a thing and they had a Rodney quote on it. And Rodney said he lives in New York and he lives in a very bad area. It's a lot of crime. It's very dangerous. He said, so he just moved in and he said he saw a cop and he said to the cop, hey, how far is the train station from here? The cop said, I don't know. Nobody's ever made it.
Yeah, and I think further on in that bit, he talks about how the high school is the only school that had an obituary section. So let's look back. So as we celebrate 5 years, and thank you for listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We are coast to coast to coast in Canada, all over North America, of course, and also 75 different countries around the world on the iHeartRadio network in Canada. And we really thank you. We are truly humbled by the fact that you've listened to us and given us feedback. And there's some people who don't like our show, and that's fine. That's completely.
Speak for yourself, Nick. I expected all of this.
Let's go back to another highlight from our 5 years of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Back to news from around the world, and I think you remember this one. You enjoyed this one. This is about the bear that was in the outhouse. And
I love that one.
And took a bite out of.
It was a brown bear, Nick.
That's right. It didn't start out as a brown bear, but eventually
I think it was a gold brown bear.
No, it was a cinnamon colored bear. That's right. Anyway, let's not reveal all of it. Here is, as we look back in the past 5 years, the bear in the outhouse. An outhouse is probably a good place to be if you're going to have the crap scared out of you. Shannon Stevens visited her commode in Chilcot Lake, Alaska. Turned out to be a heart-stopping.
Let's stop for 1 second.
Yes.
Chilcot. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chilcot Lake, Alaska.
I think the listeners are going to think it sounded
no,
like
Chilcot. I apologize if I wasn't enunciating.
Because I was breaking out the thermals just thinking about it. But go ahead.
It was a heart-stopping experience at the outhouse, probably a little bit painful. The moment when she came butt to face with a curious bear.
What? She was in the outhouse?
She says, I just sat down and the thing bit me right away. I jumped up, screamed for my brother. Eric Stevens came running over from his yurt on his property. When you heard
yurt?
It's one of this, like a little tent. It's like a little outdoor tent, okay? When he heard his sister scream, he ran towards the outhouse and found his sister with a puncture wound on her butt. She was still standing there with her pants down, he said.
Wait a minute. The bear was in the hole?
Yes. What?
But what, he bit her and got out?
Oh, hold on. Let me read the story. Let me read you the news.
I'm still in the yurt.
She got hurt in the yurt. She was still standing there with her pants down, her brother said. What bit you? Where is it? And boy, do you look hot. No. And she said...
That's strange, but
yes,
go ahead.
Dear Penthouse. No. She said the bear is in the hole. Her brother...
No, Jesus. It gets worse.
No, her brother shined the headlamp and opened the lid.
Was like, well, bend over.
There you go.
So I can see him.
No, not that hole. And right there...
Okay, he's still in the hole, the bear.
So he took the lamp and he shone it on the hole, and right there at the level of the toilet seat was a cinnamon colored bear face.
Cinnamon.
Why?
He was probably white before he went into the hole. He was only cinnamon because he was in a poop hole. My God. The guy actually gave a color. I don't even, but go back in the dirt.
So here he was. His face. It was big enough to fill the hole, according to the brother. The siblings bolted from the outhouse in fear, returning to the yurt to treat Shannon's wounds.
Yeah, because when a bear's around, you always want to have at least 1 inch of gauze to protect you. 1 inch of canvas.
Yes.
That's really a lot of protection against a bear filled with poop.
It was a cinnamon-colored bear face. A wildlife biologist, Carl Kosh, with the Alaskan Department of Fish and Game, who investigated the incident, believes Stevens encountered a black bear, but isn't sure if she was bitten or simply swiped with a paw.
Oh,
but Kosh said that he's never heard of...
Might have given her a good spanking.
Ooh, spank me again.
It's Smokey. He's like, well, don't do forest fires. And hey, baby, back that up.
She's got a boo-boo on her butt. The experience has changed the way Shannon will approach her outhouse. If nothing else, she says, I'm definitely going to look down in the hole next time.
Yeah, she's going to have some bowel problems from the future on. I mean, really. I've heard of snakes coming up.
Yeah.
Rats in the toilet. But a cinnamon-colored bear.
You know why? Cinnamon-colored bear. He was looking for cinnamon buns.
That was a good one.
Oh, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Now, as we mentioned, earlier in the show, we talk about how we just hit record and we go. We've had very little editing in the show. So we were doing, in fact, this look back. This is look back number 4. So this is where I was trying to talk about how monkeys. I can't even get it out right now. The monkeys, they suck on these leaves and they suck sort of like the alcohol out of the leaves, and they become inebriated. I couldn't get the sentence out. It took me almost 45 seconds to get the sentence out. And Roy was wondering, well, are the monkeys the only ones sucking on those leaves? Here's how it sounded. Speaking of going to the zoo, sometimes you'll see some chimps. And sometimes you'll see those chimps drinking fermented tree sap. Scientists are studying these chimpanzees in Guinea, and they've seen evidence of long-term and recurrent ingestion of ethanol. There was a 17-year study recording chimps, and they're using their leaves to these plants to drink their fermented. The 17-year study recorded.
I think you drank it.
Yes. Yes, I was visiting the chimp cage before I started the show today. The 17-year study recorded chimps using leaves to drink fermented palm sap. Some drank high enough alcohol to produce what they called visible signs of inebriation.
Yeah, they get whatchamacalls SUIs, which is swinging under the influence.
That's right.
It took me a couple of seconds to put that together.
It's okay. Yes,
I had a little bit of that juice myself.
I think they are swingers. Yes. Of the many guests that we had on our show, we had someone talk about poop, the poop book. We talked to a nutritionist. We talked to somebody with music. We talked to Richard Krause,
the guy that lived underwater.
The guy who lived underwater. The guy who we interviewed somebody. These will be all highlights in the next several episodes.
Shoes, Nick. Remember the guy no shoes?
That he had no shoes for 20 years. It was for medical reasons, though. Okay, and we'll talk about that. A bittersweet. This is a bittersweet part for me personally, and even for Roy to a certain extent. Last year or earlier this year, I lost a dear friend in George Cash. George Cash was Mr. Oktoberfest. He and I have been many friends. I introduced him to Roy in our show. And George was no secret. He was Santa Claus in a Santa Claus parade for 5 decades and more. And he was just absolutely a character. He and I performed in Joey and Gina's comedy wedding together for 20 plus years. Became fast friends.
He was one of the nicest people that I met doing this show. And I honestly have to say, he was a pleasure to talk to and just a really great guy.
So George and I have been friends for 20 some odd years. And so we talk every day. If I'm not talking to Roy, I'm talking to George. Those are my only 2 friends. And then George tells me the story. He says, you won't believe what happened to me. And he's Mr. Oktoberfest, as I said. And so, of course, being Mr. Oktoberfest, he performed at Oktoberfest for many, many, many years. He owns several pairs of lederhosen. Now, Roy, you of being German background, explain to the audience what lederhosen is.
It is a leather garment. I had one when I was a kid. They are either leather pants or leather shorts, usually brown, worn with a white button-down shirt with suspenders. And normally in the center of the chest area is something that holds the suspenders together, which normally has a piece of ivory carved out or a piece of edelweiss.
So George was telling me how he had lederhosen in his house, and someone came in and stole the lederhosen. And so this is the great lederhosen heist. This story comes to us from Toronto, Ontario. The case of the lederhosen heist. Someone broke into our next guest's home and stole his lederhosen.
We searched and found the actual person who is the victim of this heinous crime. Nick, continue.
So to protect his identity, we're going to just, change his name. We'll call him George. George, welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
I am so glad that you found me, and now I'm finding you, so it's wonderful.
This is good. We need to talk about this, and so that we can protect George, even though we're not on video, we've put a bag over George's head.
I took it off. That's fine. I'm glad.
Yeah. It's not to protect your identity. That's how we treat our guests.
But we searched out and we found George, the lederhosen heist.
So, George, tell us in your own words, and if you need a moment to grab a tissue or something, let us know. But tell us in your own words what happened to you just a few days ago in your home.
I woke up. I wanted to go to the car. I go to the back steps. All of a sudden, I see my boots are all over the place, and my jacket is not hanging up on the hook. I see another jacket that doesn't belong to me. I shake it. A wallet falls out.
Oh.
Whose wallet is this? I don't know. I go downstairs thinking I left my jacket by the laundry. No, I feel a draft. There's a window that's open in my basement.
George, did you have pants on when you felt the draft?
Yeah, I had my pants on because I was in my PJs.
Just checking.
Yeah. And so I look where the draft's coming from. I have a bookcase, and on top of the bookcase, I had my lederhosen and my lederhosen type shirts, but they're not there.
So let me ask you, George, can I call you George?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay.
Yeah, so, let's call him George.
George. So, George, again, we've protected his identity so nobody knows. He's actually outside the suburb of Toronto, but we won't identify where he is. So, George, if I may, why do you have lederhosen in your house?
Because for many, many years, I've been self-proclaimed as the king of Oktoberfest.
So you realize that your lederhosen has been...
The man stole his lederhosen.
Yes, but may I interject here?
Yes.
It wasn't the short ones. These were the long ones.
So you had the full leather pants.
Oh, yeah.
They stole a lederhosen. What other items did he steal?
They stole socks that went with them. They stole the shirts that went with them. They also stole, are you ready for this? at my back door, my winter toque, and a pair of leather gloves.
So these people were out for ethnic clothing. I'd say this falls under a hate crime.
Yes. So wait a minute. So he took your woolen, your toque, your long leather lederhosen to keep warm, but left his jacket with his wallet in?
Oh, no, not only did he leave his jacket, he also left his jeans. And he also left a pair of Doc Marten boots.
Right.
And that's why I think he stole my lederhosen, because he lost his jeans. I think he had to go wee-wee or something, or maybe he should have did the poop business. I don't know, but he took my leather pants.
Okay. So this guy literally used your house as a changing room.
Yes.
Okay.
I was sleeping.
No, this is wrong.
It was in the morning. I was asleep in my bed. I guess what? Another bing bing on my doorbell.
It's him again?
It's him again.
No.
What do you want? Like your
No.
China or something?
Hang on a second. Here's the best part. He said, "Hello, excuse me, but I'm the guy that was in your house," says he.
So he confessed.
Yeah. And the best part is he has a big bag with him. And guess what's in the bag?
Your lederhosen.
My lederhosen.
Wow.
The socks.
So did you ask him why he came into your house? Was he like stalking you? How did he know that you had lederhosen in your house?
I don't think he knew. I think by accident he fell into my house because I was kind of thinking that I locked my back door properly, but I didn't. So when he came to my door, I said, "Could you go around the back of the house and show me how you got in?"
So you asked him to recreate how you got into your house.
The grandpa.
Yes, I wanted to be a cop.
Bring you a pretzel and a beer. But go ahead.
Well, he didn't, because I don't think he knew what the lederhosen was all about.
George is a nice guy. George is a humanitarian.
Yeah.
This is why they call him the king of the Oktoberfest.
So we want to thank you very much for joining us. And so that you know, guests of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, accommodations are provided by the guest because we have no budget. Well, that was quite something. And he's dearly missed. And his recording on our shows will live forever. Thanks for listening. We'll have more. We'll scour the internet as we have for 5 years. We'll scour the internet and other sources to find out totally useless information just for you. I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And until then, be happy and safe.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy has been brought to you in part by Tom's Place, the finest in men's fashion. Located in Toronto at 190 Baldwin Street in the heart of Kensington Market, or visit toms-place.com. And by Pete's Pizza, celebrating 40 years serving the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls area. Pete's Pizza. Life is not about finding yourself, it's about finding pizza. If you're hungry, visit petespizzaniagara.ca.